Stonebrook, manicured lawns, two-car garages, the smell of freshly cut grass on a Saturday afternoon. It was the kind of place where people whispered about lost cats, not lost morals. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, a storm brewed. The residents of Stonebrook were successful, attractive, and utterly bored. Their lives were comfortable, predictable, even enviable. But routine had a way of dulling the senses. The thrill of the new had long faded, replaced by a quiet desperation. They craved excitement, a break from the monotony. Little did they know their desires would soon be answered, but at a terrible cost. For in this idyllic haven, a dark secret was about to surface, one that would shatter the facade of perfection and expose the raw underbelly of their desires. It began innocently enough, as these things often do. A summer barbecue, the air thick with the smell of charcoal and chlorine. Laughter echoed through the manicured backyards as neighbors exchanged pleasantries and sipped iced tea. But beneath the surface of normalcy, a current of discontent simmered. The conversation turned to marriage, as it often did among couples who had spent countless evenings together, their conversations as predictable as their routines. Someone, perhaps fueled by one too many gin and tonics, joked about spicing things up. The word swinging hung in the air, heavy with unspoken desires and anxieties. At first it was met with nervous laughter, a taboo subject quickly brushed aside. But the seed had been planted, and like a weed in the meticulously maintained gardens of Stonebrook, it began to take root, spreading its tendrils through the cracks of their seemingly perfect lives. Emma and Nick Daniels were the quintessential Stonebrook couple. She, a successful interior designer with a keen eye for detail, he, a rising executive at a prestigious financial firm. They were attractive, successful, and utterly unremarkable. Their life was a carefully curated picture of domestic bliss. Dinner parties with other couples, weekends spent at the club, vacations to exotic locales. But beneath the surface of their perfect life, a quiet desperation simmered. The spark, the thrill of the early years had faded, leaving behind a comfortable but predictable routine.
When the idea of wife swapping was first introduced, I was hesitant.
But I was intrigued. I saw it as a way to inject some excitement into our predictable lives.
Emma, sensing her husband's growing boredom and fearing the potential consequences of denying him, reluctantly agreed. Rules were established, boundaries drawn. It was to be a one-time thing, a harmless experiment. They agreed to keep it strictly physical, no emotions involved. They chose another couple from their circle, Mark and Lisa Miller, who seemed equally curious, equally bored. The night arrived, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Nervous laughter masked their apprehension as they toasted to new experiences.
The rules, so carefully crafted, seemed to evaporate as soon as we crossed the threshold of the Miller's home.
Emma found herself drawn to Jack Thompson, Lisa's brother and a recent addition to their social circle. Jack was everything Nick wasn't: impulsive, dangerous, exciting. Their connection was immediate, electric. For the first time in years, Emma felt truly alive. Jack was a whirlwind of attention, showering Emma with compliments and making her feel desired in a way she hadn't in years.
He listened intently as I spoke, my words tumbling out in a rush, eager to share my thoughts and dreams with someone who seemed genuinely interested.
He was everything Nick wasn't: spontaneous, passionate, and a little bit dangerous. He made her feel alive, desired, seen. The carefully constructed walls she had built around her heart began to crumble under his gaze.
Our encounters became more frequent, more intense. What began as a reckless fling quickly spiraled into something deeper, something dangerous.
Emma, intoxicated by Jack's attention and her own reawakening, allowed herself to be swept away by the current of their affair. But Jack's interest soon morphed into something darker, more possessive. He showered her with gifts, bombarded her with texts, appeared at her work unannounced.
I wanted her all to myself, and I wasn't above using manipulation and threats to get my way.
Emma, initially flattered by Jack's attention, soon realized she had made a terrible mistake. She tried to break things off, to return to the safety of her carefully constructed life.
But Jack, fueled by obsession and rejection, refused to let me go.
Nick, oblivious to his wife's turmoil, remained caught in the web of their arrangement. He was too preoccupied with his own desires, his own need for novelty, to notice the subtle shifts in his wife's behavior, the fear that flickered in her eyes. The tension, like a tightly wound spring, finally snapped. Nick, suspecting Emma's infidelity, followed her one evening, his suspicions confirmed when he saw her car parked outside Jack's apartment. Rage, fueled by betrayal and a bruised ego, coursed through him.
I confronted Jack in the parking garage, the air thick with anger and the smell of exhaust fumes.
Words escalated into shoves, then fists connected with flesh. The sound of their struggle echoed through the concrete structure, a primal scream against the dying light.
I arrived to find the two men locked in a brutal dance of violence, watching in horror as the situation spiraled out of control.
Her carefully constructed life, the facade of normalcy she had so desperately clung to, shattered into a million pieces. The police arrived, sirens wailing, breaking through the night. The parking garage, once a place of anonymity, became a stage for their downfall. The truth, ugly and raw, spilled out under the harsh glare of the flashing lights.
The news of the Daniels and Thompsons' escapades spread through Stonebrook like wildfire, leaving a trail of shock and judgment in its wake.
The community, once so quick to embrace them, now ostracized them, their whispers laced with disgust and a perverse fascination. Emma, facing charges for her involvement in the altercation, saw her carefully crafted life crumble around her. Her marriage, already strained beyond repair, dissolved, leaving behind only shattered promises and bitter resentment.
The idyllic facade of Stonebrook had been irrevocably shattered, the dark undercurrent of desire exposed for all to see. The residents were left to grapple with the consequences of their actions, their lives forever marked by the events of that fateful night.